Imagine standing in front of a crowd. Your hands trembling, your throat tightening, your mind screaming to run. What if I told you that the fear gripping you in that moment isn't just nerves, it's silently killing your potential? Every word you hold back, every idea you bury, is costing you opportunities, respect, and even the life you dream of living.
Wow, yeah.
In Speak with No Fear, Mike Acker doesn't just teach you to talk, he dares you to reclaim your voice, destroy the lies fear whispers, and step into a confidence you never knew you had. Are you ready to break free, or will you let fear win again?
Hello, everyone. Hi, all, and welcome to BookPodCastZone.
I'm Emma, and I am incredibly enthusiastic to be your guide today as we plunge into a deep dive on communication mastery. Really excited about this one.
And I'm John, ready to unpack the wisdom, the context, and the really actionable techniques from Mike Acker's transformative work, Speak with No Fear, an audio adventure guide.
That's exactly what this is, an adventure guide. I love that framing. We are taking, a strategic shortcut right to the core of confidence. Our mission today is to explore Acker's game-changing, chapter-by-chapter insights that show us how to systematically dismantle stage fright, and crucially, how to flip that fear into high-octane fuel for performance.
And that concept, flipping fear into fuel, that's really the heart of it, isn't it?
Totally.
Acker is not selling, the complete eradication of nerves. He's not saying you'll never feel nervous again.
Which is realistic, actually.
Exactly. He's acknowledging that anxiety is energy, plain and simple. And then he provides the tools to harness it so you can, as he puts it, own any room or Zoom call.
Or Zoom call. So relevant now.
Oh, absolutely. And this is specifically tailored for you, the learner, the person listening right now, who needs knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly to step up in today's, let's face it, pretty high-stakes professional world.
Absolutely. And the way he structures this material, it feels like a deliberate rising crescendo. You can really feel the build. We start with the psychological battle, what's going on inside your head. Then we move to the physical hacks, the body stuff.
Right, the shaky hands, the racing heart.
Exactly. And then we transition into mastering preparation and, importantly, connection with the audience.
Yeah.
Every segment, every chapter offers tools that are immediately applicable, whether you're giving a big TED-style presentation or just trying to make sure your voice is heard clearly in a complex virtual meeting, which happens all the time.
Constantly. So yeah, let's dive right in. Where does Acker start this adventure?
Okay, let's unpack this starting point, Chapter 1, The Grip of the Spotlight. Acker opens with a statement that honestly always forces people to pause.
Yeah, bit of a shocker.
He says public speaking often tops the fear charts, sometimes ranking even higher than the fear of death for some individuals.
It sounds, absurd on the surface, doesn't it? More afraid of a presentation than dying.
Right. But then you dig into why, and Acker explains the depth of this anxiety. It's not trivial.
No, not at all. And what's truly fascinating here is the sheer power of this fear. Why does it feel so existential?
Yeah, why?
Well, evolutionarily speaking, the threat feels real because on some level it was real. We are social creatures, fundamentally.
Okay.
If you look at anthropology, social psychology, the fear of social rejection, of being judged negatively by the group, of being cast out of the tribe.
That was bad news back then.
That was potentially lethal. Historically, it meant literal survival risk. Being ostracized meant no protection, no shared resources, death.
What? Wow. So when you stand up to speak and you feel that intense fear of public judgment or failure,
your body reacts with that ancient, incredibly powerful fight-or-flight response. It doesn't know it's just a PowerPoint presentation.
it thinks it's a saber-toothed tiger.
Kind of. Your heart pounds, your vision might narrow, your mind is just screaming hide. Because being publicly shamed or rejected once signaled immense danger.
That puts it in perspective, and that's why acknowledging Acker's own early fumbles, his own stories, is so important right at the beginning.
Definitely. He doesn't position himself as this, flawless guru who was born confident.
No, he shares those moments where he was frozen, totally embarrassed. He talks about that sweaty, stomach-churning dread
As the shared starting line. For everyone, even the people who look super polished now, it normalizes that initial panic, makes it less isolating.
Yeah, you think, okay, he felt this too.
And that vulnerability, that honesty, allows him to introduce the absolute necessity of identifying your specific triggers.
Okay, so not just, I hate public speaking.
Exactly. That's too broad, too overwhelming. You have to ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of? Is it forgetting my lines? Is it the tech failing? Is it, looking stupid in front of my boss or a particular colleague?
Or maybe that the audience will just be bored.
That too. Is it the fear of silence or judgment? Or is it anchored to a specific past trauma?
Yes. He mentions that one awkward school presentation. I think everyone has one of those buried somewhere.
Oh, totally. Or the time the microphone made that horrible feedback shriek where you saw someone else completely bomb a pitch and felt that secondhand mortification.
Right. And Aker stresses that ignoring these specific emotional anchors, just trying to push past them, it only amps up this generalized kind of debilitating anxiety.
You end up fighting this vague, shapeless monster called stage fright. But really, you need to map out the specific, smaller gremlins that are actually holding you back. What are your particular fear points?
That makes it feel more manageable somehow, like you can tackle them one by one.
Precisely. And mapping those triggers is absolutely essential because the stage itself has fundamentally changed, especially in the context of, 2025 and beyond.
Right. It's not just the big auditorium or the conference room anymore.
Nope. The fear has kind of metastasized. It's spread into the digital stage.
The digital stage, that's a great term. You mean things like Zoom calls?
Exactly. Required virtual team presentations on Zoom or Teams where you're literally staring at your own face while trying to speak coherently. That's a huge trigger for self-criticism for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely. It's like having a mirror forced on you while you're trying to concentrate.
And then you've got delivering high-impact content, maybe short talks or updates, via platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, LinkedIn Live.
Where the stage is instant, the feedback is instant.
And potentially unforgiving. You're judged by potentially thousands of anonymous rapid-fire critics. The permanence of it, too, a bad moment can be clipped, shared.
That's terrifying. Let's think about a specific example, like maybe a small business owner in Austin, Texas. Say they've bootstrapped, poured everything into their idea.
Okay, yeah. And now they're finally ready to do their first live stream pitch, maybe for seed investment or just trying to get a wave of new customers.
The stakes feel enormous for them.
Absolutely astronomical. The stage is just their phone screen, right?
Yeah.
The backdrop might be their home office looking a bit cluttered.
Doesn't sound too scary.
But the fear isn't necessarily of falling off a physical stage. It's the fear of the technology freezing up mid-sentence.
Oh, God, yes. The lag.
The lag that makes them look totally incompetent. Or the fear of saying the wrong thing and having it instantly visible, permanently out there. That clip potentially going viral for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's a different kind of spotlight. Aker's opener, facing that fear head on, it really arms you for that kind of modern exposure anxiety, doesn't it?
It has to. Because that's the reality for so many people now.
And Aker's reflection in this chapter, it resonates so strongly because of that constant digital exposure. Fear whispers, "You're not ready," or "Hide the camera, turn off your video."
Yeah, that little voice.
But he provides that crucial emotional pivot. He basically shouts back, "You're more ready than you know."
I like that.
That trembling you feel, that nervous energy, it's just raw power, raw energy waiting to be directed. This first chapter challenges you to acknowledge the fear, really look at it, and then use it as the first necessary, powerful step toward transformation.
It's a fundamental reframe.
Yeah.
It's challenging you to see the spotlight, whether it's physical or digital, not as this harsh judge's glare,
Right.
but maybe more like a heat lamp, designed to activate your potential, warm you up, get you going.
A heat lamp, I like that. It's a necessary first step, that reframe, before we can even start doing the internal work, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge and reframe the external pressure first. Once we've done that, then we can start the necessary internal construction. We can shift focus from the spotlight itself to rewiring the inner critic that makes that spotlight feel so negative.
Okay, great setup. So acknowledging the fear is step one. Now, how do we deal with that voice inside our head?
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Right. On to chapter 2.
All right, chapter 2. Rewire your inner critic. This takes us smack dab onto the mind's battlefield. This is where the internal struggle really happens.
The inner critic. We all have one, don't we? Sometimes louder than others.
Oh, definitely. And Aker points out that this critic plays dirty. It operates almost exclusively on worst-case scenarios, generating that constant, often paralyzing negative self-talk.
It's that voice of absolute certainty, isn't it? The one that says, "I will forget the key points," or "Everyone will see I'm an imposter."
Exactly. It doesn't deal in probabilities, it deals in disastrous certainties. And Aker identifies that this inner critic isn't just, an annoying thought. It's actually a powerful neurological pattern.
Like a habit for your brain.
Pretty much. A neural script that's been honed and reinforced by years of recalling past failures or perceived shortcomings. So to change the outcome, we have to intentionally rewrite that script.
Which leads to what he calls the script flip. I like that term.
Yeah, the script flip. It's about consciously moving from that fixed certainty of failure, that default, I'll bomb this mentality.
Which feels so automatic sometimes.
Right. Moving from that to a quieter but active confidence. Something more like, okay, I've got this because I've prepared and because of visualized success. It connects belief to action.
So it's not about just ignoring the possibility of failure or pretending past mistakes didn't happen.
Not at all. That would be naive. The script flip isn't about erasing past humiliation or anxiety. It's about reframing it, using it as historical data, not as destiny.
Okay, data, not destiny.
Yeah. Acker shares some really powerful anecdotes in the book, stories of speakers who experienced real public humiliation, things that could have easily made them quit forever.
But they didn't.
They didn't. They successfully turned that awful experience into fuel for their hustle. They didn't let the setback define their capability. They used it, analyzed it, and refined their future process because of it.
That takes incredible strength.
It does. And that kind of shift requires intentionally building what Acker calls the belief blueprint.
The life blueprint. Okay, this sounds practical. This is where we move beyond just like motivational slogans, right? We need actionable procedure.
Exactly. It's got to be concrete. What are the steps? Acker details two main components for this blueprint.
Okay, what are they?
First, structure daily affirmations. And second, visualizing success as if it has already happened.
All right, let's break those down. Structured affirmations. How does that differ from just, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough? Sometimes that feels a bit forced.
That's a really crucial distinction, actually. Structured affirmations, in Acker's framework, are not vague positive wishes. They are precise, present tense, positive statements designed to specifically counter the inner critic's most damaging, most frequent narratives.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. Let's say your inner critic constantly whispers, you always stumble and lose your place when you present complex data. It's a specific fear.
Right. Very specific.
So a vague affirmation like, I'm a good presenter, might not cut it. The structured affirmation would be something targeted like, I speak clearly and concisely. I maintain a steady, confident pace through all complex sections of my presentation.
Ah, okay. So it directly addresses the weak spot identified by the critic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you practice saying it, thinking it, writing it down maybe, until that new script starts to feel more natural, more believable than the old negative one. It takes repetition.
Repetition builds the new neural pathway.
You got it. And the second part, the visualization aspect.
Yeah.
This is where the true neurological shift can happen. This isn't just passive daydreaming about a good outcome.
Like hoping it goes well.
No, it's active mental rehearsal. It's about using as many senses as possible to practice the feeling of success.
Feeling it, not just seeing it.
Yes. What does success feel like in your body? What does the room sound like? What do you see? Maybe even what does the confident version of you smell like? Perhaps the coffee you had beforehand. You engage all senses.
Wow. Okay. So it's really immersive.
Extremely immersive. When we engage in this kind of active mental rehearsal, we were essentially prepping the motor cortex, the nervous system, the emotional centers of the brain for a successful outcome. Yeah. Neuroscientists talk about how the brain struggles to differentiate between vividly imagined success and actual physical success.
So you're kind of tricking your brain in a good way.
You're training your brain by visualizing the positive feedback, the smooth delivery, the feeling of accomplishment afterward. You are literally creating and strengthening the neurological pathways associated with competence and calm, overriding the pathways of panic. It's like a muscle memory for your mind.
A muscle memory for confidence. I like that.
You're training your nervous system before the event even starts. So when the actual moment arrives, your brain goes, oh yeah, I've run this program before. I know how this feels.
Okay, let's apply this. Let's go back to our software developer in Seattle. They're prepping that big presentation on a complex new feature for senior leadership. High stakes.
Definitely high stakes.
Yeah.
And let's say their inner critic is just screaming, you're going to stumble over the technical jargon. They'll see you don't really get it. You'll look weak.
Yeah, familiar fears for technical presenters.
So using Acker's belief blueprint, this developer doesn't just review their slides obsessively. That's important, but not enough.
What else do they do?
They schedule, say, 15 minutes the morning of the presentation, maybe even the night before too, purely for active visualization.
Okay, what are they visualizing specifically?
They imagine walking confidently to the front of the room or logging into the video call with a calm demeanor. They feel the weight of the presentation clicker in their hand or the mouse. They visualize specific positive moments, maybe seeing the head of sales nod enthusiastically when they explain a key benefit. They hear the sound of their own voice, steady and clear, explaining a complex technical point. Critically, they visualize the Q&A session afterward, seeing themselves calmly and clearly answering even the toughest questions with authority and grace. They don't just see the presentation, they see the entire arc of success, from the first slide to the positive feedback or the virtual great job messages afterwards.
So they're pre-living the success.
Exactly. They are embedding the feeling of competence into their nervous system.
That emotional high you must feel when that self-doubt finally cracks even just a little bit. It must be incredibly powerful.
It really is. It's that dawning realization that, hey, I've done the mental reps, I know this material cold, and I've rehearsed the feeling of success. It replaces that old, worn-out negative script with a compelling new narrative of competence.
It sounds like building belief isn't just fluffy stuff at all.
Absolutely not. Acker teaches us that belief, built this way, is the solid foundation. It's not a soft skill, it's a hardcore tactical advantage. It's what transforms that shaky, hesitant voice we sometimes hear in ourselves into a steady, effective, and confident one.
You absolutely have to build that conviction internally before you can even think about delivering effectively externally.
That's the sequence. Mind first, but then, even with the strongest belief, our bodies can still betray us, right?
Oh, yeah. The moment we achieve that mental control, suddenly your heart starts pounding or your palms get sweaty. The body takes over.
Which means, having worked on the mind, we now need to move directly to mastering the physical reality of that threat response. How do we control the body's reaction?
That sounds like the next crucial step.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Okay, on to chapter 3 then. Let's talk about breathing.
Right, this transition is critical. We're moving from the mind's internal battlefield to the body's, well, sometimes chaotic external reactions. Chapter 3, Breathe Through the Storm, addresses those very physical things. The heart pounding like a drum, the slick palms, the racing thoughts that feel physically overwhelming, even that awful feeling of nausea or lightheadedness.
The body's betrayal. It feels like that sometimes, doesn't it? Your mind wants to be calm, but your body is just freaking out.
Totally. And Egger frames the goal here really effectively. It's about reclaiming physical control, often instantly, by directly accessing the nervous system's control panel.
How do you do that instantly? Because the problem is when you tell someone who's really anxious to just relax, it's like the least helpful advice ever.
It's completely useless advice. Because the adrenaline is already rushing, cortisol is flooding the system. The body is physiologically preparing for a physical fight or flight. Telling it to relax doesn't compute. The body feels like it's betraying the brain's desire for calm.
So what's the key? What's the control panel?
Acker's genius here, and it's echoed in a lot of mindfulness and performance psychology, is focusing on the mechanism that directly connects the mind and body, your breath.
Okay, breathing. We hear about deep breathing a lot.
We do, but Acker emphasizes what he calls the nausea to nirvana arc. It's a bit dramatic sounding, but the point is powerful.
Nausea to nirvana. Tell me more.
He shares this physical story, this understanding, about how a single, deep, intentional breath can fundamentally shift everything physiologically.
How does one breath do that?
Because it acts as an interrupt signal. When you take a slow, controlled breath, especially with a longer exhale, you stimulate the vagus nerve. This is a major nerve running from your brainstem down through your body. Stimulating it basically sends a message to your brain saying, okay, the danger is past, you can stand down.
Ah, so it's like hitting the brakes on the panic response.
Exactly. It helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest mode, the opposite of fight or flight. It tells your body it's safe to calm down, lowering heart rate, blood pressure.
Okay, that makes sense physiologically. But how do we make that intentional breath truly actionable in the moment? We can't just tell someone listening, okay, breathe deeply when they're about to walk on stage. They need a technique.
Absolutely. And Ecker provides specific, practical, time-based breathing drills. Things you can do discreetly, quickly, right before you need them.
Like what?
A really popular and simple one he mentions, which is widely used for anxiety, is the 4-7-8 technique.
4-7-8. How does that work?
It's simple. You breathe in gently and quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Then you hold the breath gently for a count of 7. And finally, you exhale slowly and completely through your mouth, making a gentle whoosh sound for a count of 8.
In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8.
Exactly. And the key is that longer exhale. Doing this cycle just 3 or 4 times, which takes less than a minute right before you step up to the microphone or log into that important call, can radically lower your heart rate.
And presumably helps clear your head, too.
Yes, because it helps reintroduce oxygen more effectively to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought and decision-making, which tends to go offline during panic. So it aids mental clarity, too.
Okay, 478. That's a concrete tool. What else? Beyond breathing, he also addresses those physical jitters, right? The restless legs, the shaking hands.
Yeah, the fidgeting energy. You can't just suppress that energy. It often makes it worse. You have to channel it, redirect it.
Energy redirects. What does that look like?
It's about consciously transforming that impulse to fidget or pace nervously or even flee into purposeful dynamic engagement.
Okay.
So, instead of letting that physical anxiety make your hands tremble uncontrollably, you might consciously decide to place both feet firmly on the ground, feeling the connection, rooting yourself. That's a grounding technique.
Feeling stable.
Or you might channel that excess energy into broader, more intentional gestures when you speak. Not wild flailing, but purposeful movements that emphasize your points. You transform that nervous, shaky movement into controlled, charismatic movement.
So you're using the energy instead of fighting it.
Precisely. You're giving it a job to do.
These physical techniques sound incredibly crucial in today's world, especially with the rise of hybrid events.
Oh, massively important there. Imagine presenting to a small room of, say, key stakeholders or judges, while simultaneously being beamed live to a massive virtual audience scattered everywhere.
That's pressure from both sides.
You need both physical composure and presence for the people in the room, and steady vocal control and presence for the camera lens, capturing you for the virtual crowd. It's a dual performance.
Okay, let's picture our successful marketing executive again, maybe based in Miami this time. She's prepping for a major industry conference keynote.
Big stage, big audience, maybe 1,000 people physically there, and another 5,000 watching the live stream. Huge pressure.
So what does she do right before walking out?
Using Ecker's playbook, maybe 5 minutes before her cue, she retreats to a quiet corner backstage. First, she does 3 or 4 rounds of that 4-7-8 breathing to calm her physiological response, lower the heart rate.
Okay, settles the nerves.
Then, instead of planning to stand rigidly behind the podium, gripping it for dear life, she consciously plans her movement. She decides, okay, I'll walk over to the left side of the stage when I make point A, then move to the center for point B, maybe lean in slightly towards the camera for the virtual audience during point C.
Ah, so she's choreographing her energy.
Exactly. She's using Ecker's redirect techniques. She's turning our natural nervous energy into confident pacing and purposeful stage presence. This helps ensure her voice doesn't crack from tension and her hands stay steady for holding the microphone or clicker.
That makes calming the body seem much more doable, actionable.
It is. And Ecker's really powerful lesson here, I think, is that your body isn't the enemy trying to sabotage you when you get nervous.
Even though it feels like it sometimes.
Right. He reframes it. Your body is actually a collaborator, just waiting for the right commands, the right signals to join the performance. The breathing techniques, the energy redirects, those are the commands. You're inviting your body to shift from a state of fear into a state of focused, energized performance.
Mind managed, body calmed. What's next?
Well, once we've managed those internal threats, the racing mind and the rebellious body, then we can dedicate our full attention and energy to the structural integrity of the talk itself, the content, the delivery.
It's time to shift from managing panic to really polishing the presentation.
Exactly. It's time for preparation, pro-level preparation.
Okay, let's get into that.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Perfect. Chapter 4 it is. All right, that brings us neatly to Chapter 4. Prep like a pro. We've calmed the mind, we've settled the body's fight-or-flight response. Now we shift focus to the deliberate, structured work of rehearsal and preparation.
And this is crucial because Ecker really details the drama of preparation, or maybe the drama of poor preparation. He shows how a lack of structured prep can easily sabotage even the most experienced, knowledgeable professionals.
It's not always a lack of skill or expertise then.
Often, it's not. It's a lack of rigorous, intentional rehearsal. There's a common pitfall, especially for people who really know their subject matter well.
What's the pitfall? Overconfidence.
Sort of. It's relying too heavily on their expertise alone. They assume, oh, I know this stuff inside out, I can just wing the presentation. So they maybe glance at their slides, but they rush the actual rehearsal process.
Been there.
We all have. They enter the presentation relying on spontaneous recall, on their ability to talk off the cuff based on their knowledge. And that leaves them psychologically vulnerable.
How so?
Because when something unexpected happens, a slide doesn't load correctly, the internet connection flickers, they get a tough or off-topic question they didn't anticipate.
Uh-oh.
Their lack of a rehearsed structure, a rehearsed backup plan, suddenly triggers all that anxiety they thought they had conquered back in Chapter 2 and 3. The lack of prep becomes the weak link.
Okay, so winging it is risky, even if you know your stuff.
Very risky.
Yeah.
The turning point Aker highlights here is the deep realization that structured, intentional rehearsal, the act of actually drilling, refining, timing yourself, practicing transitions, is what transforms that lingering dread into genuine confidence, competence, and even delight in presenting.
Delight. That sounds ambitious.
Maybe. But it's the difference between practicing just to memorize words or bullet points and practicing to perform a compelling, engaging, and resilient narrative. You start to enjoy the flow.
Okay, so how do we achieve that? This leads us to Aker's intentional rehearsal checklist, right?
Exactly.
Ew.
Which is incredibly powerful because it breaks down what feels like a monolithic, scary task, giving a talk, into manageable, concrete micro-tasks.
Makes it less daunting. What's the first step on the checklist?
The first step is crucial psychologically. Break the talk into bite-sized beats. Don't try to rehearse a 30-minute presentation as one giant block.
Okay, chunk it down. How small?
It depends on the talk, but maybe break it into 3 10-minute acts or perhaps 6 distinct 5-minute segments, maybe based on your key messages.
Why is that segmentation so vital?
For a couple of reasons. Psychologically, it just makes the whole thing feel less overwhelming. You're not trying to conquer Everest, you're climbing manageable sections. Practically, it builds resilience.
How does it build resilience?
If you get momentarily flustered or forget your line in, say, Act 2, you only need to recover and find the start of the next beat, the next 5-minute segment. You don't feel like you have to somehow recall the entire rest of the presentation from memory. It gives you mental anchor points.
Like safety nets throughout the talk.
Exactly. Aker also suggests often using the classic rule of 3 structure, a clear introduction, 3 main supporting points, and a strong conclusion. By treating each of those main points as a distinct, separately rehearsable unit, you can practice the transitions between them until they're absolutely seamless.
So you can nail the handoffs between ideas.
Right. And that structured approach also means if you suddenly need to cut for time, or maybe elaborate on one section because the audience is really engaged there, you can do it more gracefully because you know the distinct blocks you're working with.
Okay, chunking it down is step 1. What's next on the checklist?
Step 2 is practicing with a clear purpose. This means going beyond just silently reading your notes or slides to yourself.
How so? What's the purpose?
The purpose is performance. It's about practicing the actual delivery elements. Where will you pause for effect? What gestures will you use to emphasize a point? When will you make eye contact with the audience versus glancing at your notes or the screen? What will your vocal tone be? You rehearse the how as much as the what.
Practicing the performance, not just the content. Got it. What's the third key element?
Third, and this is critical for connection later, you must tweak and tailor the presentation specifically for the target crowd or audience. Aker's really clear on this. One size does not fit all.
So the same core message might need different packaging.
Absolutely. If you're speaking to an audience of, say, venture capitalists, your language, your examples, your key metrics will be heavily financial. ROI, market size, exit strategy. But if you're delivering essentially the same update to your internal engineering team, you'll use technical jargon, deep data dives, focus on the implementation details. The core message might be similar, but the clothing, where's the language, the data, the emphasis must be tailored. Your rehearsal must include practicing that specific tailored tone and content.
That makes sense. You have to speak their language.
You have to. And that feeling of empowerment, when you realize you've turned the potential chaos of presenting into a manageable, structured checklist, that's what builds true, deep presentation confidence.
It feels like you've taken control of the variables you can control.
Precisely. You can't control everything. Maybe the projector bulb will blow, but you've controlled your preparation, your structure, your message tailoring.
And this checklist approach feels super relevant today, especially with all the AI tools people are using now.
Oh, absolutely. Think about a corporate presenter. Maybe they've used an AI outlining tool, like the source material mentioned, Notebook LM perhaps, to help draft their material.
So the AI gives them the raw information, the structure, the facts, the figures.
Right. It provides a decent starting point.
Right.
But those AI outlines often lack the nuanced structure Aker talks about. They lack the emotional vulnerability, the specific resonant stories needed for real human connection. They lack the tailoring for a specific audience's concerns.
So the AI gives you the skeleton, but not the soul.
That's a good way to put it. Aker's methods, his checklist, force the presenter to take that raw AI output and add the structure, the purpose, the humanity. They have to consciously decide, okay, AI gave me point B here, but Aker's principle says I need a compelling anecdote or a specific client story right here to really land this point with this particular audience. It bridges the gap between automated content and engaging communication.
It elevates the AI output. Let's use another example, maybe a public defender in Los Angeles. They're preparing a really complex closing argument for a jury trial. Weeks, maybe months of dense, confusing, overwhelming testimony.
Huge amount of information. And they know the jury is likely fatigued, maybe confused. They can't just dump all the facts on them again.
No, they need structure and clarity.
Exactly. So, using Aker's bite-sized beats approach, they meticulously break their entire closing argument down, maybe into 3 core acts or beats.
Like what?
Perhaps beat 1 is establish the defendant's humanity, tell their story, create some empathy, that's the narrative hook. 2, systematically demolish the prosecution's single most crucial piece of evidence or testimony, the focused evidence beat. And beat 3, clearly articulate the core of the reasonable doubt, maybe linking back to the jury instructions, the conclusion beat.
3 clear, digestible chunks.
Right. And they don't just practice each beat individually. They spend hours practicing the transitions between those 3 beats. How do they smoothly move from the human story to the detailed evidence rebuttal? How do they pivot from the evidence to the final plea about reasonable doubt? They practice those links until the entire argument flows seamlessly, feels compelling, and is easily digestible for that tired jury.
That structured preparation sounds like the absolute antidote to anxiety.
It really is. It reinforces Aker's core tenet that resonates throughout the book. Great speakers, confident speakers, are very rarely just born with some magical natural talent.
They're built.
They are built meticulously, one intentional, structured, rehearsed step at a time. The hard work of preparation is the anti-anxiety medicine. It's the foundation of confidence.
Okay, so we've got the inner game controlled mind and body. We've got the content fully prepped and structured. What's the crucial next piece?
Well, now that we're ready, the conversation absolutely must shift to the crucial external element. The audience. How do we actually connect with them?
Right. It's not just about us anymore.
No.
Yeah.
We need to move from just producing great content to actually engaging the people listening. Connection time.
Okay, let's explore that.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Onwards to Chapter 5. Chapter 5. This feels like a really significant shift in focus, doesn't it? Connect, don't conquer. We've spent the first 4 chapters mostly on internal management, mind, body, preparation. Now Aker turns our attention fully outward.
It is a major thematic shift.
Yeah.
The goal here is to fundamentally change the dynamic between the speaker and the audience. To stop seeing it as me versus them or me performing at them.
And move towards
Making the audience feel like they are part of an us. Creating a shared experience, a conversation, rather than a monologue delivered from on high.
connect, don't conquer. The conquer implies opposition, doesn't it? Like you have to win them over against their will.
Exactly. Connect implies partnership, shared understanding. And here's the almost magical part. When a speaker genuinely shifts their focus externally, really concentrates on the audience's reception, their understanding, their needs, their own self-focus automatically diminishes.
You stop worrying about yourself so much.
Precisely. You stop asking yourself, am I messing up? Do I look okay? What are they thinking of me? And you start asking, are they getting this? Is this resonating? What questions might they have? That shift in focus literally drains the fuel from the speaker's own anxiety engine.
Because your brain is busy doing something else connecting.
Right.
Yeah.
And this creates what Akers calls an emotional swell. It's that experience, which can feel amazing, of moving from feeling totally isolated and scrutinized under the spotlight,
Which is where the fear lives.
to achieving this shared energy, this palpable connection with the room. You know that moment when there's a genuine wave of laughter, or focused silence after a key point, or spontaneous applause?
Yeah, it feels electric.
That positive feedback actually feeds the speaker. It validates the connection. It drains away the initial nervousness because you feel the synchronicity. The room isn't just passively receiving. They're now actively participating, performing with you in a way.
So how do we intentionally create that bond? What are the tools?
Akers details 3 core techniques, 3 pillars, for building that rapport effectively.
Okay, pillar number 1.
Pillar number 1 is eye contact. But not just any eye contact. It needs to be eye contact that builds genuine bonds, not just, vaguely scanning the room.
What's wrong with scanning? Isn't that what they teach you? Look around the room?
Scanning often comes across as a defensive technique. It can subconsciously signal to the audience that you're nervous, looking for threats, or not really interested in connecting with individuals. It feels impersonal.
Okay, so what does genuine bond eye contact look like in practice? How do you do it without being creepy?
Yeah, good point. It's often called the triangle method, or simply connect and hold. Instead of nervously sweeping your eyes across the audience like a lighthouse beam,
Right.
you intentionally land your gaze on one person, just one, and hold eye contact for the duration of a full thought, a sentence, or maybe a short phrase, 3 to 5 seconds perhaps.
Really connect with that one person for a moment.
Yes, you deliver that thought directly to them. Then, you smoothly shift your gaze to another person in a different part of the room and repeat the process. Then to a third. You're establishing these brief but genuine micro-connections around the room.
That sounds much more personal. Any tips on who to pick?
Acker suggests starting by looking at people who appear receptive, the ones who are nodding, smiling, leaning in. That builds your own confidence early on. Then, once you're comfortable, you can strategically engage with those who might look more skeptical or distracted, drawing them into the connection too.
Okay, genuine eye contact, not scanning. Pillar number 2.
Pillar 2 is using questions. But again, not just rhetorical questions that don't actually expect an answer. Using questions that genuinely spark participation and make the audience feel heard.
So asking real questions like, what are your thoughts on this? Or has anyone experienced something similar?
Exactly. Questions that invite them into the conversation. And crucially, this means being prepared to actually stop talking and listen to their responses, even if it slightly throws off your planned timing or takes you in an unexpected direction for a moment.
That takes courage to relinquish control like that.
It does. But it signals respect for the audience's input and instantly makes it feel more like a dialogue, less like a lecture. It builds trust.
Makes sense. And the third pillar for connection?
The third pillar is narrative. Using stories, crafting and sharing stories that stick with the audience long after the presentation or speech ends.
Why are stories so powerful?
Because humans are fundamentally hardwired for narrative. It's how we've made sense of the world for millennia. Data informs, logic persuades, but stories connect and transform on an emotional level. Acker really stresses this. Data might get forgotten, but a good story resonates.
So maybe anchor your key data points or main messages to brief, vivid human anecdotes.
That's the ideal approach. Make the abstract concrete and relatable through a story.
These 3 pillars, eye contact, real questions, stories, seem absolutely critical in our current environment, the 2025 context.
Oh, completely. We live in a world saturated by scrolling, endless notifications, immediate gratification, and fractured attention spans.
Keeping attention is harder than ever.
Way harder. So Acker's tips for genuine connection aren't just nice-to-haves anymore. They are essential survival tools for reviving meaningful, live interaction. Whether it's a virtual keynote where people can easily click away, or a local professional club meetup where everyone's checking their phones under the table, you are actively competing for every second of their attention.
You have to earn it constantly.
You have to work harder, and the connection needs to be established quickly and maintained actively. Let's analyze that example of a successful town hall meeting. Maybe it's led by a mayor in a medium-sized Midwest city.
Okay. And let's say they're presenting something really difficult, like a proposed municipal budget that involves cuts to popular community services. The mood is probably tense, skeptical.
Definitely tense. If that mayor just stands behind the podium and reads off a list of budget line items and justifications.
Disaster. The
Yeah.
crowd will probably erupt in anger or just tune out completely. They'll feel lectured at, not listened to.
Exactly. Failure to connect. But if that mayor uses Acker's connection techniques, what might that look like?
Okay, so maybe after presenting the first point about, say, proposed changes to the community center funding.
Instead of just moving on, they pause. They make direct, sustained, compassionate eye contact with different sections of the room. And they ask a genuine question.
Why?
Like, I understand that these proposed changes to the community center budget are concerning and will likely affect many of your families directly. Before we move on, I'd really like to hear from you. Which specific programs or services worry you the most right now? And maybe what alternative solutions or ideas have you already discussed amongst yourselves?
Wow, that's open and vulnerable.
It is. And then, crucially, the mayor needs to actually listen. Maybe have a notepad. Visibly write down the concerns people raise. Call on specific people. Acknowledge their points.
So they're sharing the stage, in a way.
Yes, they're demonstrating respect, acknowledging the validity of the audience's feelings, and inviting collaboration. They transform the atmosphere, ideally, from an adversarial lecture into a difficult but collective problem-solving session. The connection makes the hard message more palatable, or at least debatable.
It completely changes the energy, and it confirms that core idea. Fear naturally fades away when the speaker stops feeling isolated and performing at the audience.
And starts genuinely sharing with them. That connection really is the secret sauce. It shifts the focus, builds rapport, and makes the whole experience less terrifying and more rewarding.
Connection achieved. But even with connection, how we deliver the message matters hugely. Our actual voice.
Absolutely. Once that connection is established, the vehicle carrying your message, your physical voice, needs to be fully optimized. It needs power, clarity, and control.
Which leads us to the next stage.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
All right, Chapter 6 is all about the voice itself. Okay, now we enter what feels like the final stage of tactical mastery with Chapter 6, Voice of Victory. Acker really zooms in here, doesn't he? He amps up the intensity by focusing specifically on the physical voice itself.
Yeah, the actual sound coming out of your mouth. The sound that, under pressure, can so easily start to quiver or rush uncontrollably or flatten out into a dull monotone.
All the things that undermine credibility, even if your content is amazing.
Exactly. This chapter is about ensuring all that hard work we did on mindset, body calming, preparation, and connection is actually delivered with the authority and impact it deserves, because the voice is the primary delivery vehicle for authority.
If your voice sounds weak or hesitant,
Even if your content is solid gold, the audience subconsciously translates that vocal weakness into a weak message or a lack of conviction. It just happens. So Eckert challenges us here to execute what he calls the authentic pivot.
the authentic pivot, what does that mean for the voice?
It means discovering and owning your natural, resonant, powerful speaking tone. And interestingly, he suggests that embracing a degree of vulnerability, rather than trying to mask all nerves with a fake presenter voice, actually leads to greater vocal velocity and impact.
Vulnerability leads to velocity? How does that work?
By vulnerability, he means letting your genuine passion, your authentic personality, your natural inflections show through. Trying to adopt some kind of artificial, perfectly smooth, professional presenter voice often introduces stiffness. It sounds fake, and it undermines trust.
Because it doesn't sound like a real person talking.
Right. When you speak authentically, using your natural cadence and tone, even if your voice breaks slightly with genuine emotion on a key point or shows a hint of nerves, paradoxically, that can create a profound bond. It signals authenticity.
Okay, so be yourself, vocally. But authenticity alone isn't enough if your voice is still shaky or too quiet. Right?
Absolutely not. That authentic delivery must be supported and amplified by specific, practical voice control techniques. Ackers details several key ones.
What's the first one?
The first is pace drills. This is huge. Nerves almost inevitably make us speed up, rush through our content like we just want it to be over.
Guilty as charged.
We all are. Ackers suggests intentionally practicing with a timer, or even using a physical metronome app on your phone during rehearsal. The goal is to practice speaking slower than feels naturally comfortable.
Slower. Why?
Because your nervous perception of time is warped. What feels slow to you often sounds perfectly normal, or even engagingly deliberate to the audience. Speaking slower ensures clarity, allows time for processing, and conveys thoughtfulness and control. The audience simply can't absorb information delivered at the speed of your internal panic.
Good point. Slow down to speed up comprehension. Okay, pace control. What's the second technique?
The second technique is volume tweaks. Conscious volume variation. It's not just about being loud enough to be heard, although that's baseline important.
It's about using volume dynamically.
Exactly. Using volume variation for dramatic effect. Maybe dropping your volume slightly, becoming quieter, to draw people in conspiratorially for a key insight or a personal story.
Leaning into the mic, almost?
Yeah. Or maybe raising your volume slightly, adding intensity for a rhetorical climax or call to action. That constant variation, even subtle shifts, maintains audience energy and crucially avoids that droning, monotonous delivery that just kills engagement.
The dreaded monotone. Okay, pace and volume variation. What else?
And the third technique, arguably the most powerful and the one Acker emphasizes perhaps above all others, is mastering the pause.
The pause. Silence. That feels scary for nervous speakers.
It feels terrifying. We instinctively want to fill every single second with sound because silence feels like we've forgotten something or lost control.
Right, like dead air.
But Aker reframes the pause completely. He talks about pausing like a boss. A strategic, well-placed, maybe 2 or 3 second silence is not a sign of weakness. It's a powerful communication weapon.
How is it a weapon?
A deliberate pause does several things. First, it commands attention. The sudden silence makes people lean in and refocus. Second, it creates suspense before a key revelation or punchline. Third, it dramatically emphasizes the statement you just made, giving it weight and significance. And fourth, it gives the audience a crucial moment to actually process and absorb what you just said before you move on. It lets the idea land.
Pause like a boss. I like that phrase. It implies control.
It does. Think about the emotional core of mastering the pause. That moment of calculated silence after delivering a really powerful statement. That's where the speaker visibly transitions from being potentially controlled by the fear of silence to actively controlling the room's attention through the strategic use of silence.
It flips the power dynamic.
Completely. And that visceral thrill you feel as a speaker when the room holds its breath with you during that pause, that is immense.
Yeah.
It builds your own confidence in real time.
These vocal control techniques, pace, volume, pause, feel more relevant than ever now, don't they? Especially with the rise of AI audio.
Oh, absolutely. In the context of the AI audio boom, as you called it, we're surrounded by ubiquitous voice mode apps, increasingly sophisticated AI narration for articles, books, even corporate training videos.
Yeah, AI voices are getting pretty good.
They are getting technically proficient, which means human presenters, human communicators need to level up their game. We need to offer something AI still struggles with.
Which is?
Nuance,
Yeah.
emotional resonance, authentic vulnerability, strategic timing, authority conveyed through subtle shifts in tone and pace. Aker's techniques, especially the intentional pause, the subtle volume shifts, the pacing that matches the emotional content, are precisely what distinguish compelling human performance from flat, albeit technically perfect, automated delivery. They're becoming competitive differentiators.
It's how we add the human touch that AI can't replicate yet. Let's use that US live example idea again, maybe contrasting speaking styles.
Good idea. Think about, say, a modern-day politician who sometimes rushes through a long list of policy accomplishments or attacks, trying to cram everything in. The delivery feels breathless, maybe a bit desperate, even if the points are valid.
Yeah, you tune out.
Compare that to watching historical clips of a truly legendary orator, maybe a famous civil rights leader delivering an iconic address, or a powerful courtroom lawyer summing up a case. What do you notice?
The rhythm, the pauses, the build-up.
Exactly. The power is often in the structure of the delivery, not just the words. The leader uses silence strategically to command absolute attention right before dropping a major statement. They build a slow, deliberate crescendo towards the rhetorical climax, using pauses and shifts in volume and pace to guide the audience's emotional journey.
The politician just lists facts. The great orator crafts an experience using their voice.
Precisely. One loses authority through rushed delivery. The other enforces authority and impact through masterful vocal control, especially the pause.
It really drives home Aker's assertion then. Your voice, when consciously controlled and authentically deployed, is your true superpower.
It is. And once it's fully unleashed and controlled in this way, it naturally helps to silence that internalized roar of the inner critic we talked about earlier, because the sound coming out of you finally matches your intention. It's clear, it's powerful, it's resonant, it's authoritative. You hear yourself sounding confident, and that reinforces the belief.
It's a positive feedback loop. Voice reinforces belief. Belief strengthens voice.
Beautifully put. But the journey doesn't magically end just because you delivered one great speech using these techniques. What happens next? What about setbacks?
Right, because setbacks are inevitable. We need to look at the long game. How do we integrate both the wins and the inevitable failures into a lifelong pursuit of communication mastery?
That sounds like the final piece of the puzzle, resilience.
Let's tackle that final chapter.
Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Okay, Chapter 7, the grand finale.
All right, Chapter 7, Rise from the Ashes. This really frames the entire journey not as a destination, but as a continuous cycle of growth. It's the ultimate lesson in resilience.
Yeah, it acknowledges that even once you've initially mastered the fear using the tools from the previous chapters, the journey isn't over. You haven't arrived. Human development, skill development, it's endless.
Exactly. This chapter provides the crucial psychological reset needed for long-term professional growth and effectiveness. It shifts the focus from achieving perfection to embracing progress, setbacks and all.
And the emotional core of this chapter seems to be about reframing failure, right? Seeing failure not as an endpoint, but as fuel.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Acker closes with some incredibly powerful stories, tales of what sound like epic fails. Presentations that went horribly wrong, major technical meltdowns in front of huge audiences, even instances of audience walkouts or harsh public criticism.
Things that sound like career enders.
They might feel like it in the moment. But the point of these stories is that these setbacks didn't destroy the speakers' careers. In fact, analyzed correctly, they ultimately birthed speakers who were far more resilient, more adaptable, and ultimately more effective and unbreakable in the long run.
So the failure itself contained valuable data.
Precisely. Failure is not confirmation of your incompetence. It's simply confirmation that you tried something, maybe pushed your boundaries, and now you have new information, new data points that you didn't have before. The key is leveraging that information.
How do you do that systematically? How do you turn that awful feeling of failure into something productive?
Acker provides concrete key ideas, specific practices for ensuring lifelong evolution and learning from every speaking experience, good or bad.
What's the first practice?
The first and maybe most critical is implementing structured post-talk debriefs immediately after or very soon after any significant presentation or meeting.
Not just relying on your gut feeling of, oh, that went well, or man, I bombed.
No, because our emotional memory of events is notoriously unreliable, especially under stress. A structured debrief means systematically analyzing what actually worked and what didn't, ideally using a formal checklist or set of questions.
What kind of questions?
Specific things like, how was my pacing overall? Did I rush certain sections? Were my transitions between the main points smooth? Did I use pauses effectively? How was the audience engagement? Where did I seem to lose them? Where were they most connected? Did my opening land? Did my closing have impact? Did I handle Q&A effectively? You need specifics.
So you're generating concrete data about your own performance.
Exactly. Objective data, as much as possible, not just subjective feeling. And the second key practice flows from this.
Which is?
Celebrating wins, and Acker's clear. This means consciously acknowledging and celebrating both the large, obvious successes, like landing the major client, acing the keynote speech, getting the promotion after a great presentation, and the small, incremental moments of progress.
What kind of small moments?
Maybe it was the first time you successfully used the 4-7-8 breathing technique and felt it actually calm you down. Maybe it was managing to intentionally slow your pace during a section where you usually rush. Maybe it was trying out a strategic pause for the first time, even if it felt awkward. Recognizing and validating those small steps forward is crucial for building momentum and reinforcing the new habits.
Progress fuels further progress. It keeps you motivated.
Absolutely. And this entire framework structured debrief, learning from failure, celebrating small wins, committing to continuous evolution connects directly to those broader 2025 resilience trends we see being emphasized everywhere in leadership development and corporate training. In today's incredibly dynamic, often unpredictable professional environment, the ability to learn quickly from setbacks, adapt, and bounce back stronger is no longer optional. It's mandatory for effective leadership at all levels. Acker's guide essentially equips listeners with a personal system for building that communication resilience, ensuring every speaking opportunity, whether it's perceived as a success or a failure, results in a tangible skill upgrade. It institutionalizes the learning loop.
It helps you achieve those lifelong mic drops by constantly learning.
That's the idea. Let's analyze that powerful US Live example. The scenario of a major CEO handling a very public, very messy, failed product launch announcement.
Right. The initial presentation was maybe confusing, the product demo failed, the market reacted negatively, the company's stock took a significant hit, a disaster.
A massive, very visible failure. Now, what does the CEO do next, applying Acker's principles?
Well, they wouldn't just hide or issue a vague corporate speak apology.
Hopefully not. Instead, perhaps they commission a formal internal postmortem, but one focused specifically on the communication strategy surrounding the launch. Not just blaming R&D or marketing, but asking, why did our message fail to land? Was the technical jargon too dense for the intended audience? Did we fail to anticipate and address potential consumer concerns? Was the presentation structure confusing? Did I, as the presenter, seem disconnected or unprepared?
So, a rigorous communication debrief, even at that high level.
Yes. And then, crucially, they use the findings from that painful debrief to consciously establish a stronger, maybe more transparent, perhaps more humble, but ultimately more confident and connected communication style in subsequent public appearances related to this issue.
So they don't hide the mistake.
No, maybe they speak openly, authentically, about the lessons learned from the failure. They demonstrate accountability. They show, through their changed communication style, that the organization listened and adapted. That incredible resilience, that ability to rise from the ashes of a significant setback and communicate more effectively because of it. That is the superpower Aker is talking about in this final chapter.
It earns back professional trust and validates that commitment to continuous evolution, even when things go wrong.
Exactly. You've gone through the whole adventure Aker lays out.
Yeah.
You've gathered the tools, the mental reframes, the physical techniques, the preparation strategies, the connection tactics, the vocal skills. Now, the ultimate challenge, the ongoing mission, is to consistently apply them, to speak bold, live fearless.
Knowing that every time you stumble, every time something doesn't go perfectly.
You are simply gathering essential data for your next attempt, your next success. It's all part of the upward spiral of growth.
That is the perfect, empowering way to wrap up the core journey of the book. A really powerful final chapter. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay, so we've navigated the entire adventure, haven't we? Laid out so clearly in Mike Aker's speak with no fear. We started right at the beginning with the grip of the spotlight, really understanding that fear.
Then moved into conquering the mental battlefield in Rewire Your Inner Critic, building that foundational belief.
Followed by mastering the body's physical reactions in Breathe Through the Storm, using those practical techniques like 4-7-8 breathing.
Then we got into the crucial work of refining the process in prep, like a pro. The chunking, the tailoring, the rehearsing.
And that pivotal shift outward, focusing on connection and connect. Don't conquer eye contact, questions, stories.
Leading into unleashing our vocal potential in voice of victory pace, volume, and that all-important pause.
And finally, tying it all together with embracing perpetual growth and resilience and rise from the ashes. Those 7 pillars, they really provide a comprehensive framework. They absolutely do. They transform public speaking, or really any high-stakes communication, from this source of paralyzing dread into a structured, manageable, and ultimately highly refined skill set that anyone can develop.
And the value, as we said at the start, is treating this not as some static textbook you read once.
Right. But as a live, interactive adventure guide, something meant to be revisited, lived, and applied moment to moment, presentation to presentation.
And for you, the learner listening right now, we really want to underscore the profound relevance check here. These principles, these tools, they apply far, far beyond just a physical stage or a formal presentation.
Oh, absolutely. These are essential communication tools you need in daily life. When you're negotiating a raise or a contract, when you're leading a difficult project meeting with skeptical stakeholders, when you're having a tough conversation with a family member, or even just when you're trying to build your professional reputation through clear, confident, and authentic communication in every interaction.
It's about finding and using your voice effectively everywhere.
Precisely. So maybe take a moment right now. We encourage you to identify which of the 7 steps, the 7 pillars we covered today, feels like your most immediate challenge, or perhaps your biggest opportunity for growth right now.
Is it strengthening that belief blueprint? Really tackling the inner critic? Is it mastering one of those breathing techniques to manage the physical nerves?
Maybe it's committing to that structured preparation, breaking things down into beats.
Yeah.
Or is it focusing more intentionally on audience connection, the eye contact, the stories? Perhaps it's honing your vocal delivery, playing with pace and pauses. Or maybe it's establishing that rigorous post-talk debrief process to learn from every experience.
Whichever one resonates most strongly, start there. Pick one small action you can take today or this week to begin practicing that specifics. If Mike Aker suggests, compellingly I think, that vulnerability can actually become velocity, that authenticity can lead to impact, how might you fundamentally change your approach next time? What if you chose radical honesty about your nerves, maybe even acknowledging them briefly and authentically, instead of trying to maintain that brittle mask of false, unattainable perfection?
That choice, acknowledging the humanity, yours and theirs, it really could change everything about the connection you make. A powerful thought to consider.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into reclaiming your voice with insights from Mike Aker.
It's been a great conversation.
We genuinely hope you walk away feeling empowered, equipped, and ready to speak bold and live fearless. Until next time.